The night I decided to sneak into Armand Vale's party. I was standing outside a glass tower that looked like it didn't belong to the real world. The building glowed like a diamond against the dark sky, each floor lit with a confidence I didn't have. My hands were shaking, not from the cold, but from the weight of the decision I'd already made. I told myself this was just curiosity, just one reckless moment. Deep down, I knew it was something else. It was desperation mixed with hope, and those two together can push a person to do dangerous things. Orby, my name is Elias Rowan, and until that night, I was invisible. I wasn't poor in the dramatic, cinematic way. No tragic violin music followed me through life. I had a tiny apartment with flickering lights, a job that barely paid rent, and dreams I'd folded and hidden like old letters I was afraid to reread. My mother, Miriam Rowan, had raised me alone, working herself into exhaustion so I could go to college. She believed in me with a stubborn faith that never wavered, even when I did. When she got sick, everything shifted. Hospital bills stacked up faster than I could count, and the world became a series of closed doors. Armand Vale was one of those doors. Vale wasn't just a billionaire. He was a legend, tech innovator, philanthropist, media darling. The kind of man who smiled in interviews about changing lives while living on floors above the clouds. His annual private party was invitation only, rumored to host politicians, celebrities, and people whose decisions shaped entire industries. And that night, I was standing outside, pretending I belonged. The suit I wore wasn't mine. It belonged to my friend Jonah Pierce, a struggling actor with more confidence than sense. He lent it to me with a crooked grin and a warning. "If you get arrested," he said, to tell them I'm your lawyer. I laughed then. Standing there now, I wasn't laughing. I took a breath, squared my shoulders, and walked toward the entrance. The first challenge came immediately. Security. 2 guards stood at the door, their posture relaxed, but alert, eyes trained to spot lies before they were spoken. I felt my heartbeat in my throat as one of them looked me up and down. He didn't smile. "Invitation?" he asked. For half a second, my mind went blank. Then instinct took over. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a black card. Jonah's gym membership, of all things. I didn't hand it to him. I just held it, confident, casual. "I'm with the Vale Foundation donors," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Running late." The guard hesitated. That pause felt like a lifetime. Then a woman's voice cut through the tension. With me. I turned to see her, tall, poised, with dark hair pulled into a sleek knot. Her eyes were sharp, curious. She wore a silver dress that looked like it was designed for power rather than beauty. "Iris Caldwell," she said to the guards, not to me. "He's fine. He's fine." They stepped aside instantly. I walked in before anyone could change their mind. Inside, the party was unreal. Crystal chandeliers reflected laughter and champagne flutes. Conversations buzzed about investments and art auctions, about things so far removed from my reality that it felt like stepping into a movie set. Music flowed softly, expensive and controlled like everything else in the room. Iris leaned closer to me. "You're welcome," she said. "But you owe me an explanation." "Thank you," I replied. "I didn't expect." "Obviously," she interrupted, smiling faintly. "You don't belong here." The words stung, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. "I know," I said quietly. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. Please don't look lost. That was how my night truly began. As we moved through the crowd, Iris explained she was Armand Vale's executive assistant, not a secretary. She corrected me, but the person who made his world run on time. She had worked for him for 7 years, long enough to see behind the polished image. "Everyone here wants something," she said. "A money, influence, validation. What do you want, Elias Rowan?" I froze. "How do you know my name?" She smiled again. But this time, there was something unsettling about it. "Will you pay attention?" I considered lying. It would have been easy. Instead, I told her the truth. "Oh, my mom is sick," I said. "And I heard Vale sometimes helps people." I just wanted 5 minutes. Iris didn't respond immediately. She led me to a quieter corner near the balcony, overlooking the city. The lights below looked like scattered stars. "Armand Vale doesn't help people the way you think," she said finally. "But 5 minutes, that might be possible." That was the second challenge, waiting. We stood there for what felt like forever. "Sir." I watched powerful people laugh, negotiate, and toast to futures already secured. Every second, my nerves tightened. I imagined security dragging me out. I imagined failing my mother again. Then Iris straightened. Follow me. We moved through a private hallway into an office that smelled of leather and old books. Armand Vale stood by the window, his back to us. He was taller than I expected, his hair silver at the temples, his presence heavy. Armand, Iris said. This is Elias. Vale turned, eyes calculating. You're not on my list. And no, I said. I'm not. He raised an eyebrow. Then you're either brave or foolish. Both, I admitted. He laughed softly. You have 1 minute. I told him everything. About my mother. About the bills. About the nights I lay awake, wondering how effort could still not be enough. I didn't beg, I just spoke. When I finished, the silence was crushing. Vale studied me. You know, he said slowly, I hear stories like yours every week. I know, I replied. That's why I didn't write an email. Another pause. Then he did something unexpected. He sat down. Tell me, he said. What will you do if I say no? I swallowed. I'll find another way. Good, he said. Because money isn't the answer you think it is. I felt anger rise. With respect, sir, it would solve a lot. He smiled sadly. Temporary solutions often hide permanent problems. He stood and turned to Iris. Schedule him an interview. I blinked. An interview? With my foundation, Vale said. We're funding startups that solve real problems. If you have an idea, you'll pitch it. If it's good, we invest. If not, at least you'll have tried. It wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't immediate relief, but it was a door. The next challenge came in the weeks that followed. The interview turned into a process. The process turned into work. I barely slept, balancing my job, my mother's care, and developing an idea I didn't even know I had. Iris helped more than she should have. She challenged my assumptions, tore apart weak arguments, and pushed me when I wanted to quit. Why are you doing this? I asked her one night. She looked away. Because once, someone opened a door for me. The day of the pitch, my hands shook worse than they had outside the party. Vale sat across from me, expression unreadable. I spoke about healthcare access, about systems that failed people like my mother. I spoke with everything I had. When I finished, the room was silent. Vale leaned back. You snuck into my party, he said. You challenged my patience, and now you've challenged my company. He smiled. I like that. They funded the idea. Months later, my mother's treatment was stable. The startup was small, fragile, but alive. Stood on that same balcony one evening, this time invited, watching the city below. Iris joined me. You belong here now, she said. I shook my head. I don't think anyone truly belongs up here. She laughed. Maybe that's the point. The inspiring truth I learned that night was simple and hard. Doors don't open because you deserve it. They open because you knock, sometimes when you're not supposed to, and because you're willing to walk through uncertainty once they do. I didn't sneak into a billionaire's party to become rich. I snuck in to be heard. And that changed everything.